Hey guys, we're officially 1 month into our school bus build, so we just wanted to give you guys a quick update on all of our progress, some of the projects we're working on, and where we're at right now. So do you want to take it?
So since we got the bus, we've gone through, worked a little bit on the outside. We got the gauges and the dash working. We got all the lights working, at least in some capacity. We're probably gonna end up swapping out some of them for LEDs before we actually go through and paint the outside of the bus, so that'll probably be coming fairly soon. We got the vinyl all ripped off. That was all her project. She did great on it. So and Zane, our oldest. So they got the vinyls ripped off, the glue, well, not the glue yet, but the
reflector stickers,
the reflector tape and everything. So that's off. So it can technically be registered as an RV. We don't have to worry about having the word school on it anywhere. We've gone through on the inside, which has been the hardest part. We've ripped out the ceiling panels and the insulation. We've ripped out the wall panels and the insulation. We have completely prepped the floor to be ready for the rust resistant and the sealant and everything. And now it's just a matter of getting that put in. And we're getting to the point now where we got to start doing some hard stuff. Like covering up the windows and doing some things with riveting and re-riveting and cutting metal, and that's no fun. Like, I'm not really looking forward to that part, but it's necessary. So everything that we're doing now is just part of the very long, tedious process of prepping everything so that
ripping everything out.
Yeah, and then once we get done with that, once we get the windows the way that we need them, once we get the roof the way that we need it, and then the paint, then we can really start the fun part, which is the designing of the inside, which that was another thing we did. We got the layout set up. A blueprint, yeah. So from now, it's just
we're close to putting things back together, which is really exciting. We have a couple big projects we're trying to decide kind of which to start on next, whether it's the lights, the flooring. We're kind of doing a lot of big things all at once too, so there's always something going on here. So yeah, let's show you guys some progress.
So as far as the very first thing we did, we ripped out the rubber floor, and thankfully the seats were already out. I know we've mentioned that in previous videos, but the rubber floor is out. The paint and glue and everything from the floor is completely sanded up. All you see here is basically the dust from that glue and everything. We just haven't blown it out again. So the floor is nice and shiny, or shiny-ish.
Shinier.
Yeah, shinier than it was. The roof panels are all out, as you can see, and we're obviously going to be doing some things with the roof hatches, fans. Don't know that we're going to do the AC here. I think we're going to do a mini split, but we're still working that part out because we got to figure out solar and how we want to do that as well. So, but these are coming out. All the panels are out all the way to the very front one, which was probably one of the hardest ones to get out. That's potentially where we're going to put a TV or an entertainment center. Not 100% sure yet on that either. We have a couple of ideas. And the wall panels. These are the wall panels that were ripped out. We went through, obviously took the insulation out from this channel. This actual channel itself is structural, so we're probably not going to be doing anything with that, obviously, but we are going to do insulation back in there behind it, and then of course the wall will be right in front of it. And we've pretty much decided we're probably going to do spray foam. I think all roads have kind of led to that at this point, so unless something drastically changes in the next few weeks when we get ready to add the insulation, that's what we're going to be going with. So in theory, if you can find the manual for your bus, your wires are all color coded specifically to like which light they should go to, which is great in theory, but on a 30-year-old bus, like, sometimes things don't really work in theory. So my father-in-law went through and just to verify, after we got the panels taken out, he was able to go in and basically trace from the electrical panel up front all the way out to the different lights in the back and the front and everywhere else, where all these wires go to. So that's super helpful. They're all obviously in a very good place, so we're gonna leave them there to where we can access them if we need to. In theory, we shouldn't have to, but again, in theory, with a 30-year-old bus doesn't always work. So we're at least gonna put them in a channel to kind of keep them safe and not have to worry about anything rubbing up against them. But those are all identified now. We know where they all go. We know which ones work and which ones don't, and which ones have to work and which ones don't. For example, obviously these flashers up here in the back, those are coming out.
But we went through and labeled all of our wires as well. I definitely recommend doing that because there's a lot of wires. Even if they're ones that we don't really need, we kind of marked that too. But yeah, once we kind of went through and figured out where everything went, we made sure we labeled them all. You can kind of see the labels, and then we have it all written down on a sheet of paper what it all means.
We've debated on whether or not we want to put LEDs, like LED backup lights, or not. We're kind of throwing that up in the air at this point. We haven't made a decision yet, but regardless, they're going to get covered back up with something, whether it's new lights or just completely sealed in. So this is the front. This is obviously a mess as it stands right now. You just find room to sit stuff while you're working in this thing, especially when it's 100 degrees outside. So we have our fan, which one crapped out on us.
This is fan number 2.
Yeah, this is fan number 2. Thankfully it works. It's off currently so that we can have the acoustics, which is why I'm sweating like crazy. But the front of the bus, again, we ripped it all out. Our exterior light monitor, we kind of have set back up there just for now because it doesn't need to stay, but the lights do run through it, so I don't want to take it out because that's just going to make a bigger headache in the long run. My biggest worry when we got the bus, I knew it was something that could be fixed, but my biggest worry was the gauges and the dash not really working the way they were supposed to. So I have a buddy who works on school buses that came out. Shout out to Josh, I appreciate it. He came out and he did like a full once over on the bus and gave it more or less a clean bill of health, which was awesome. He went in to the dash, found out how the previous owners, after it was decommissioned as a school bus, wired everything up, and basically they just bypassed the dash for the starter, is what it is. We were able to reconnect it, and pretty much everything's working now. So dash is working. We went through, like I said before, and got all the lights working, so the lights are actually showing up on the light monitor, which is great. And we were able to go in and replace a switch, the headlight switch, which was kind of acting a little funky. And we found basically a replacement on Amazon. It was pretty easy to replace. It was a little bit of a pain to get back in there and take the screws out, but once we got in there, it was not a big deal. It popped right in, hooked right up, and now the headlights and taillights are working perfectly. So that part, the biggest scare, was over. And while Josh was here, he actually kind of took me around and gave me like a very, very rudimentary mechanic 101 class on how to take care of the bus, going over, you know, where to add grease, checking the brakes after, you know, pretty decent travel. Obviously the tires are in good condition, which is great. Checked out everything else up under the bus, what to check with like the drivetrain and things like that. So if you have somebody that can do that for you and just give your bus a once over, but not only do that, but like actually have you go in and look at it with you, that knowledge can go a long way. Going over how to really take care of your air brake system, your drivetrain, your actual brakes themselves, brake pads, your again, your grease spots that you got to put grease in. All that is just, you know, if you're on the side of the road somewhere and you don't have anybody to call besides a super expensive tow, it could be something that you could fix yourself. And it sucks, but it's better to know how to do it and not have to spend a ton of money than have to spend $1,000 just to get a tow and get something fixed. So
and
definitely
avoid
recommend
bigger
that.
problems.
Yeah, and avoid bigger problems for sure. So that was awesome. So here in the next couple weeks, we've got quite a few projects we're going to be working on. The main few, we're going to show you all inside, kind of like where we're going to be putting our emphasis. But one of the easy, quick ones that I'm going to be doing probably today is getting the rubber off of the floor and just getting that last little bit kind of sanded down and ready. We're also going to be looking into exactly what we want to do with this door, because as you can see, obviously it takes up so much space. It cuts the actual door width to just this, and it's not insulated, so there's options that we're kind of exploring as far like what we want to do with it. Beyond that, most everything's going to be inside.
A couple more projects that we'll be working on this month will be the lights on the outside of the bus. We're replacing a few of them so that we can put in LEDs, and probably going to get rid of a few of them that we're not going to need. So we're working on that. We'll also be working on the floors. We'll be trying to figure out what to do about insulation and stuff, but in the meantime we still have to seal up some of the holes in the floors.
So with the floors, like everything's pretty much done. We're debating on how we want to do the actual floor and insulation and all, because there's a few options. But we have a bunch of holes obviously from where the seats were at, and then I mean anybody with a bus that's doing this is going to know you're going to have a bunch of holes in the floor. We've done a lot of research. Some people don't fill them in, some people fill all of them in, and I think we're going to be somewhere in the middle. Because
happy medium.
Yeah, like the ones near the wheel wells and on the outside of the buses, like where water can splash up in, those are definitely going to get sealed. But there's a very valid argument out there that having some of the holes in the middle, and as long as you're putting down some kind of really good insulation that's not going to, you know, mold if water does get in it or something, then if water comes from the inside of your bus, like you have a leak, a pipe break or whatever, it's good to have somewhere for the water to go. If not, you basically created like an aquarium in your bus. So we're trying to figure out which ones we want to do exactly. So that'll be one of the bigger projects. It shouldn't take that long, but we just gotta get started on it.
Yeah, and figure out how exactly we want to do it. In a bus, there's so many different ways because they're all DIY. So researching can sometimes be overwhelming because there's so many different ways to do one project, just one. So there's a few more projects that we are going to kind of start researching a little bit more. I don't know that we'll necessarily get into the build of them this month, but just some more research and trying to figure out the best way to go about things. Number one being the windows. That's one of the next big things we want to tackle, because originally we had intended to just keep most of our bus windows, delete a few of them, and we were just going to roll with the bus look. And we really like the windows. We really like it that most of ours are not leaking. They're all in really good condition. However, they all do have the potential to leak in the future. And there's just a lot of different issues like insulating and things like that become kind of difficult. So we are looking into replacing them with RV windows. So right now we're just trying to do the research of that and figuring out the best way to replace the ones we don't want with sheet metal. So again, I don't think we'll get to the work of it this month. Hopefully next month, but we are at least
maybe.
Yeah, we are.
I'm being very optimistic.
Yeah. And then another really big project is,
so we're gonna add a skylight to the bus, essentially like right in this area, and mainly because like we're not doing a full roof raise. We thought about it, and that is like a huge project for what we're trying to do. So I'm not too concerned about doing the roof raise, but we are gonna definitely add a skylight here because this is gonna be the shower. So we're essentially gonna cut out probably one of these channels right here and lift this up on the outside, add in probably like a plexiglass type sheet.
Kind of make it a square. Yeah,
make it a square. It's gonna look like a chimney probably right here. But it's gonna have a skylight on top, so that way we can, you know, we'll seal it in really well. It'll add some actual natural lighting in the bathroom, because we're probably gonna end up deleting the windows for the bathroom area. And it's just really to add height for myself and our oldest son, because he's still growing and he's almost my height. So there's really no way to add a shower head right here after we bring the insulation in and put our actual ceiling up. So this will be lifted up. The shower head, probably like a rain shower head, will be added at the very top of that. And so that's going to require some cutting and some kung fu with the metal that I'm not looking forward to, but we got to do it. So, but that's in the future. But we're kind of planning now with, you know, the type of sheet metal and how we're going to do everything. So.
Yeah, and I think that's most of the projects we're going to start working on. Hopefully we'll get a couple more things done in there. Mostly just small projects, but as far as our big projects, that's what we are looking forward to doing this month. So hopefully you'll stay tuned and subscribe and follow along. And if you have any questions, let us know in the comments.